What's up, y'all? Tommy here. Today we're going to be breaking down how you can actually achieve retirement or financial independence within the next 10 years. Now, once I've broken down the process, I'll even show you an example of someone reaching retirement in 10 years with this exact process. So if that interests you, be sure you stay tuned. Now, the idea behind this video came from an interview I did quite a while back with Business Insider, where they asked a series of financial experts what piece of money advice everyone hates to hear. Now, for me, based on my experience, I talked about saving for retirement as soon as possible to make sure that you can reach your dream scenario. Now, a lot of times what happens is most people, we kind of continue to push it off, especially when we're younger, and say, hey, you know, it's something I can focus on in 5 years, in 10 more years, whatever. And it keeps going and going and going. The next thing you know, you wake up and you look up and you're 40 years old or you're 50 years old and you haven't started planning for retirement yet. So whether you want to retire or just be financially free in the next 10 years or not, these lessons will still be able to apply to you. Now, guys, some people have you believe that you being able to plan and achieve retirement in 10 years is only going to be possible for you if you make a lot of sacrifices in the short term. Some people will tell you, hey, you know, that means you're going to be eating ramen noodles every night. You're going to be staying home, not going out. You're going to have to get rid of your car and pretty much walk everywhere. That's not the case, guys. You got to look at it like this. Sure, you might have to cut down on certain things that you have based off your lifestyle, but there's things that you can also do to make sure that you keep the things that you truly enjoy in life. I always think that it has to do with the balance. You want to make sure that you're planning and you're doing things that can help benefit you in the future, whether that means getting rid of certain things that maybe aren't bringing that much value in your life and costing you more than you're gaining, but also making sure that you keep things that you truly enjoy and that are actually making you happy in life. So it's about finding that balance to help you reach your goals, but also make sure that you're enjoying the process. So it's really just going to come down to creative ways for you to be able to decrease your expenses and increase your income while still getting to do the things that you enjoy, okay? Things that make you happy. So I'm gonna teach you this 3-step process, guys, and this is the process I plan on following to lock in my retirement and one that you can follow as well. Then what I'll do is I'll follow it up with an example of me doing this exact process. So let's jump into it. Now, step 1 is setting your goalpost. You want to determine how much income you'll actually need. Now, this is going to be based on your retirement, knowing what exactly your retirement is going to look like. It's going to be a lot different of a retirement if you are planning to retire in New York City on Billionaires Row versus the lifestyle that you might have living your life on the beach in Thailand, right? 2 completely different scenarios. So what you need to do is you need to decide where you want to spend your retirement. And guys, go ahead and comment down below. I'm curious and I want to know exactly for you guys. Comment down below your dream retirement location and how much you think it would cost you per month to actually live there. Now, once you've found where you want to actually spend your retirement, the next thing you want to do is you want to calculate a general idea. Obviously, you know this isn't going to be exact, but you want to calculate about how much your monthly expenses might be in that location. Now, for that, I use a website called Numbeo, and I'll link to them down below. Now, the great thing with Numbeo is you can actually go on there and see how much it costs for, you know, an apple, or how much it costs for basic grocery items that you might be buying at a certain place, or how much it costs for, you know, a restaurant, a dinner for 2 at a restaurant, for example. All these different scenarios. They even give you a general idea how much it costs to rent in that location. So you want to try to calculate all that different stuff, and that way you get a general idea, okay, month by month, this is about how much I'd be spending. Now, once you've done that, next you want to use something called the 4% rule to calculate how much money that you actually need to save. Now, the idea of what the 4% rule is, it was actually popularized in a paper called the Trinity Study. The idea being that you could withdraw 4% out of your retirement portfolio, and as long as it was at least 50% invested in the stock market, you would be able to achieve a sustainable withdrawal rate, okay? And an easy example to understand this is, let's say, for example, I have $1 million at retirement and I'm investing $1 million. Now, what the 4% rule would mean is that I could safely withdraw $40,000 a year without having an issue and without seeing my nest egg decreasing. Now, step number 2 is you actually want to calculate your starting spot, okay? You want to figure out where you currently are. Now that we know where the goalpost is, right? We have an idea where we're going. I know I want to head in this direction. I now want to know exactly where I'm coming from, right? And this is where you actually figure out that part, how far you actually have to travel. So basically what you want to do is you want to figure out how much do you have in terms of assets. Do you already have an investment portfolio? Do you already have an investment account or retirement account? Maybe you own some real estate property. Is your house paid off? Do you have a savings account? You know, you want to figure out how much do you have in terms of liabilities, because a lot of the times before you even start saving, you might have to actually get rid of some of your liabilities. That could be things like credit card debt, student loans, the mortgage on your house, whatever monthly bills that you might have, you know, figuring out all those little things. Now, once you've done that, you want to calculate the difference between your income and how much you actually need to be saving monthly to reach your goal. There's two different calculators that I actually use to be able to get the most accurate data for this method. First, I start with something called a paycheck calculator from SmartAsset. This thing, the great thing about this calculator, it actually helps me know exactly how much my take-home pay would be, especially if you're working a regular 9-to-5 job. You know, you pay taxes. So even though maybe you got a job and they said, you know, your salary is $80,000, you and I both know that whenever you see your bank account at the end of the month, they definitely didn't send you 80,000 divided by 12, right? You didn't get that full amount in your bank account, right? And that's because they've already taken out the amount that you need to pay taxes and things like that. So with this paycheck calculator, you're gonna be able to see exactly what your take-home after tax pay would be month after month. And that way you're able to know exactly what your take-home income is gonna be. Next, another thing calculator you wanna use is an investment calculator. That way you can see how much you'd actually need to invest, okay? Now, realistically, you wanna save at least 20% of your paycheck. But again, the more the better. And the thing is, you gotta keep in mind, 20% is the standard. If you're looking to try to reach financial independence or retirement within 10 years, then you're probably gonna have to save a little more than 20%. Now, that 20% comes from a budgeting technique that's called the 50-20-30 budget rule. The idea is just that you allocate 50% to your needs, right? So that's your expenses that you need to have, right? Food, water, the utilities, those essentials. Then you allocate 20% to your savings, and then you allocate 30% to your wants. Just by me breaking that down, you can see that it might be a situation where obviously the needs, the 50%, your needs is gonna be a lot harder to change, but you might be able to change your wants, that 30%. You might be able to decrease it, especially if you know that you need to have more, you need to be saving a little more, right? That's kind of how you wanna look at it. Now check out a video that I shot that goes more in depth on this and touches on how you can actually, how you should be paying on your rent and other expenses based on your salary. Because it might be a situation where maybe you're renting at a place that's way more expensive than you should be based on what your salary is, right? That could be another way for you to be able to decrease your expenses. And that actually perfectly pivots into step number 3, which is bridging the gap. Now that you made a plan, right, you know exactly where you're going. You know, hey, I'm looking to retire at this specific location, at this place, and I know that I need to have X amount of money every single month to be able to sustain myself in retirement. And you know, hey, this is where I'm going, right? This is what I need to have, and this is where I am right now. I currently have this amount of money in savings. I have this amount of money in the investment account. I have this type of debt that I need to pay off, right? So you kind of have both sides, and now it's time for us to try to connect it and see what can we do to bridge that gap in between. Now it really breaks down into 2 parts. One, increasing your income. So that might mean things like maybe you find a way to bring in extra income maybe on the weekends or through side hustles. An easy example is someone who is a landscaper. Maybe he's doing landscaping projects of his own on the side, right? And people are paying him directly. Or if you know how to build out patio decks, you're building out patio decks on the weekends, even though that might be your main job, or you might be doing something similar for your regular 9-to-5. Another thing is asking for a raise at your work. You always want to be keeping track of what the average pay is for your type of employment, right? Or whatever your career path is. And that way you know, hey, maybe you're getting paid less than you should be, and you know, hey, I should be able to ask for a raise at my work, and I can show I did this to be able to help push the business forward. I would like to see if there's a way for me to be able to get compensated, me to be able to get a small raise, to be able to, because of the value that I've shown, right? Something like that. Or it might be even you shifting into another career path. You might look at and see that, hey, you know, in my current career path, I don't see a chance for me to be able to increase my income in the next 4 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. But if I shift into this new career path, I'm gonna be able to see a huge jump in my income year over year. So those are the kind of things that you want to start thinking about. Those are just a few examples, but there's a lot more that you can look at when it comes to you being able to increase your income. Now, once you've actually focused, once you've looked at that side, next thing you want to do is you want to turn and look at decreasing your expenses. That's the other aspect that you want to look at. If you're spending for, let's say you going out to the club every weekend, you blowing $500 a weekend. Okay, and you know that to reach your goals in terms of how much you're investing, you're short $500. Then you know in your mind, listen, I just need to take one weekend off. I need to know that every month I'm gonna take a weekend off and I'm not gonna go spend that $500. I ain't gonna get that bottle service at the club, things like that. And you're gonna see that by you doing that, now you're able to actually hit your goals, right? You made that connection and now you're on track to be able to hit that goal, to be able to retire in that 10 years like you wanna do. So now let me take you through an actual example that illustrates this exact point. But before we do that, guys, if you want a more detailed step-by-step approach, I'll link down to my academy down below. I actually do a step-by-step walkthrough of how to be able to rein in your finances and build that financial freedom, whatever that means for you. Now, I'm currently in Cartagena, Colombia, and that's pretty much what I'm doing when it comes to my lifestyle, right? I've tailored my lifestyle to me being able to travel, reach what my goals were. My goal was being able to travel, visit different countries for a month at a time, and eventually choose a country that I'm gonna live in full time. And I'm able to do that because of me just doing this, right? Planning ahead and bridging that gap. So if that's something that interests you, it'll be able to walk you through pretty much every aspect of your financial journey, from you either buying your first home or investment property to jumping into investing, even dealing with credit and everything like that. So I'll be sure I'll link to that down below. Now let's go ahead and jump into the example. Let's say I'm gonna go with something that's a little closer to my scenario. Let's say that you're living in Dallas, Texas, and you wanted to move to Chiang Mai, which is a city in Thailand. Now, here are a few assumptions that I want to make. One, I'm gonna assume that you're somewhere near the average salary. So in this case, in Dallas, the average salary is about $72,000 per year. And also, I'm gonna assume that you're moving alone, because that would be my scenario. I'm moving out there by myself. Now, by me looking at Numbeo, I see that moving to Thailand is gonna cost me pretty much about $500 a month, not including rent. Now, a 1-bedroom in the city center, it cost me an additional about $360. So in total, that's gonna come out to $860 a month, or about $10,320 per year. Now, I can use the 4% rule to pretty much reverse and back into, how much I would need to invest or how much I would need to have in retirement. And so taking that $10,320, dividing it by 4%, I get $258,000. And so that's how much I would actually need to be able to reach a retirement in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Okay, so next what I did is I used the paycheck calculator to see exactly how much I would be able to keep and also would need to invest. Okay, so with the paycheck calculator, I saw that, hey, I'm gonna be saving $4,500 per month after tax. So once I got that number, I went to the investment calculator to see how much I would need to invest. And the amount I would need to invest is $1,500 per paycheck to be able to reach $264,000 after 10 years. And that number is based off of me investing the funds into the stock market and getting an average 8% return across 10 years. Now, this is very probable based on the historical trends, okay? So basically, if you annualize or you look at for a extended period of 10 years, 15 years, and you average it out, it comes out to above actually 8%, but I prefer to use 8% as, a more conservative rate. Now, if I was in a situation where my current finances just wouldn't allow me to be able to reach these goals because maybe my expenses were much higher, then I would have to go a few different routes, right? I could take a few different routes. I could either focus on increasing my income, right? Finding side hustles, trying to get a raise at work, doing something on the weekends to be able to earn me additional income. Or I could look at maybe lowering my expenses, right? Maybe I have, I'm spending, again, a couple $100s at the club, and I can just cut that out, once a month and be able to save enough money to get me to reach my my goals, or maybe I'm just, I got an expensive car and I could downgrade to a cheaper car, knowing that it's gonna help me reach my goals long term, right? And another option, C, is maybe I have to change my retirement goals, right? Maybe I need to go from, retiring in 10 years to retiring in 12 years, for example, right? So what I think is best is doing a combination of all three. Maybe you need to change your retirement timeline, right? Your retirement horizon, but then you also need to increase your income and you need to decrease your expenses. That's what's really gonna give you the biggest, bang for your buck in a sense, or the biggest, by you doing that combo, it's gonna give you the biggest compound, right? So that's kind of how you want to look at it. Now, guys, this should give you a solid breakdown of how I actually go about planning retirement or just financial freedom in general, and how you can follow the same system too. So again, be sure you check out my academy down below that I'll link to, where we teach just this information exactly, and where you can actually be able to make sure that you achieve these goals and that you're able to live the exact life that you envision for yourself. Alrighty. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for taking the time. Be sure you comment down below what your thoughts are, what other information that you might be curious about, and what other questions that you might have about everything I talked about today. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you at the next one. Peace.